Professor John Fischetti, he pops in. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Sarah. Great to see you.
What's the brooch today, John?
This is one of our Aboriginal artists that the university promotes. It's actually the pin you get at graduation.
It's lovely.
Yeah, it's really nice to promote our Reconciliation Week from last week and what we need to do better to promote reconciliation.
Good on you. Now, today we're talking about disabilities within the education system, because I believe nearly 90% of children with disabilities attend mainstream schools. And I believe it's called a dual-track education system. Yep. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
So, Sarah, 1 in 10 Australian children who are of school age, primary or secondary today, that's 380,000, just to give you a sense, have been formally diagnosed with a special need. And that can range from where they need extra time to a formal physical or cognitive disability, meaning that they have either an injury or a predetermined ability that has been lessened by life itself or how they were born, or an injury that comes through just an unfortunate event. Those children are typically in the past, this is old school ways of doing, pulled out of classrooms and pulled into a wing, a corridor of a building, or in special classes just for those kids. The newest process is to include those kids in what we call the least restrictive environment, where they're in with all the other kids of their age, enjoying the learning journey, but with extra support brought in depending on the ability or the difference of that child.
So, John, how do we think our schools are implementing that? Because obviously that is the best way. We want it to be inclusive. It's the best way for the student and the other students. You want to work with diversity. How are we achieving that? Because without that support, I guess, said student that might be struggling goes backwards and could be disruptive for other students. So how do we make that work?
Well, with the pressure on teachers and principals to get test scores up, particularly NAPLAN scores in the early years, a lot of schools have resorted to what's called that dual track. I'll put it in quotes because it's not official, where we pull those kids out for some or most or all of the day, and they're supported by teachers who have been trained to work with students with special needs. And in that sense, the Royal Commission that's been working on children with disabilities now for a couple of years is doing a 2-week sort of focus on this issue to see whether we've gone backwards instead of forwards. The real critical element, Sarah, is that the quality of the teacher in the classroom to be able to differentiate for that many needs is really, really hard to do.
Of course.
We have kids who literally can't focus, as you and I were just talking about, to kids with profound issues that just need really good expertise. We have students who are deaf or hard of hearing and students who might have visual impairments. Imagine differentiating for a year 2 or year 6 or a year 9 classroom with that diversity. So it's really then about the quality of the support teachers coming in to provide that one-on-one or group assistance where appropriate in the whole class. The benefit is the whole class is learning how to work together. Those kids are not deficit kids. They have all the potential and wisdom and intelligence in the world. It's just they learn differently. So if we provide the right support, everybody wins. If we don't, it can be actually a disadvantaged situation for all children in the classroom. It's really complex, isn't it?
It is. So I guess it's coming down then to funding and having those support teachers that fit the needs of the students in the classroom. As you said, it's a win-win for everyone when it's done right. There's so much to learn from diversity and the kids just thrive off that. Do we have the funding currently to be able to support these children with high needs and disabilities in the classroom?
It's about funding the talent. And I'll give you an example. I was at a conference. I say everything's BC, the magic C word we won't use this morning. When I was at a conference internationally, and I was chairing a panel where a group in the U.S. had done some research where the year 1, year 2, 3 teachers all had master's degrees in special education. And they were comparing the results of their children through the years after that into year 4, 5, 6 with those where their teachers did not. And they had the same mixed groups. Those teachers who had a master's degree in special ed, all children in the class were above the average of everybody else in their system.
Wow.
Because they were able to differentiate. And those that didn't were actually holding everyone back, because you end up going about as slow as the student that needs the most help.
Sure.
And I don't think we want our children held back. So really it's about the qualifications of our teachers and the support. That's not a lot of money. And we throw a lot of money at assessment, we throw it elsewhere. So I don't think it's money as much as the talent to really differentiate. And the good news is we now encourage parents to find the differences in their kids. There's so many kids now that are labeled on the spectrum that back in my day might not have been. Those kids are brilliant. They learn differently. Many are geniuses artistically and creatively. They think out of the box, but they're held inside the box. And some have difficulty communicating it, but they can mime it or they can perform it. So it's really giving grace to those kids and support, but it takes the teacher. And if I had to make a recommendation, it'd be extra training in special needs and special education for the notion of inclusion. We're going to learn together in this classroom.
Because, John, I would imagine some children, as you said, they do learn differently. So mainstream learning isn't exactly going to work for them. It has to be tweaked.
It's mainstream with personalization, which means extra support. And we're not really funding for that extra support as well as we could, but it's about getting people equipped at the next level. It'd be like you might have a GP and then you might have a surgeon who knows that special part of the body they're going to operate. We need that level of extra qualifications for many of our teachers.
Well, Professor John Fischetti, it's just wonderful that the spotlight is on it at the moment. It can start conversation and create change.
And the goal is every child to have a great life, not some to be left out and down in the wing of the building we don't want to mention. So fortunately, we move from that. How much we are committed to it will be about creating a bright future for every child.
2NURFM, a broadcast service of the University of Newcastle.